Hey everyone, it's Marianne from the New York City Organization of Public Service Retirees. We're going to do two videos today. This one is going to be the morning video. In the afternoon, we're going to finish up doing the next installment of Labor Law 101. But because DC37 happened to put out an email yesterday, December 10th, we wanted to go through that with you and show you exactly what kind of BS keeps coming out of the district council. Like we always say, we need good, strong unions, but this isn't strong. And we want to remind you, if you listened to yesterday's video, which was filmed in July of 2023, we actually said to you that this was going to happen to you. First, they're coming after us, the current retirees. Next, they're coming after you. Now, Henry Garrido isn't satisfied with just attacking current retirees, trying to liquidate their health care, coming out against a bill that protects us. We are not in their unions, we've said multiple times. Unions under the state law cannot negotiate for current retirees. We are not in their unions. They had a duty to protect us, in which many of them have failed at doing. And we would really, at this point, after 4 years of fighting this, all of the unions that recognize that Henry, Michael, Harry leveraged all of the retirees and the active workers in their unions against what they were doing, they should be speaking out at this point. Enough is enough. But I want to show you this email that came out yesterday because this is important. And it also goes to share truth to power about misinformation coming from some of the leaderships of some of these city unions, that they think that they're justified in stealing a healthcare benefit or a value of something from somebody to finance their own contracts because they failed at collective bargaining or their negotiations went south. But let me show you what they did. So here, we have a letter from DC37. And in the highlighted areas, you'll see where we highlighted some of the issues that we want to bring you to. Now, remember, DC37 negotiated their contracts and their economic agreements and said to everyone, there's your premium-free healthcare is safe. Nothing changes. And what happens now? You've got December 10th, 2023 letter that comes out from DC37 saying that bad things are on the horizon. The first highlight, he says, unfortunately, as we move into 2025, we continue to face tremendous challenges with the cost of healthcare for both retirees and current employees. As expected, funding for the Health Benefits Stabilization Fund is now depleted. And it's actually called the Health Insurance Stabilization Fund, and it's depleted because of what he did. Remember, the 2014 Health Benefits Agreement was signed by Michael Mulgrew from the United Federation of Teachers to benefit that teacher's round of bargaining, that contract. 2018, Henry Garrido did the same thing. The language in his contract, and we did a video on this as well, shows you that his contract predicated on getting the MLC to agree to the 2018 savings agreement. And that agreement required a $600 million recurring savings. And where the heck was he going to get that? Off the current retirees' backs. That's what he did. And so him saying that the fund is now depleted, it's depleted because of how they used it. In order to get the funding for their contracts, they stole from the stabilization fund and they stole from the health benefits of municipal retirees, current workers. They were also passing costs. Every time you guys got a copay, a narrow network, a deductible, that was because this was negotiated in the Municipal Labor Committee, not because Emblem Health just decided to be greedy bastards and start to come after you for more money. They literally negotiated these in MLC meetings. I'm going to do another video. I'm probably going to end up doing these like twice a day to start showing you some of what the MLC did. The MLC doesn't have a bargaining certificate. They're supposed to be a policy organization, administrative group where they put the unions together to help advance the labor movement and address issues on a citywide level, not negotiating as a coalition. And that's what they've done. Healthcare is a mandatory subject of bargaining for every union, not the MLC. So he says that the fund was created by the city of New York in the 80s, and it was. But it was to provide you with two free plans, the HIP HMO, which was the city benchmark, and the GHI CBP plan, which was the most popular plan because it was a PPO plan. It was an open plan. And he says, while the bill for health coverage continues to rise, the negative balance in the fund is continuing to grow. Well, it's continuing to grow because of what they've done to it. They've been withdrawing, and I say they, as the Municipal Labor Committee told the unions, and some of them did not take the money from the fund, but many of them did, that in order to get them to agree to give the $1 billion to the UFT, to get the contract agreed to, the MLC agreement in 18 supported by the MLC, every time they did one of these agreements, they increased the money that went to every union's welfare fund rather than negotiating those increases with OLR on their own. That would have been the most powerful way to do this, right? Not taking it from a fund whose primary purpose was to pay premium so you don't. That's what this fund was created for. And then they started putting other stupid crap in there that they should never have put in, but it was a way of funding it without them having to do it out of their own. PICA originally was in the welfare funds, not in the stabilization fund. And they then decided to move it to stabilization in 2000, I believe, when the money was starting to accumulate in the fund and not being used. They created PICA out of doing that. When it was recognized that injectables and cancer meds were increasing, they should have made other negotiations and other plans, quite frankly, in order to keep that benefit alive, rather than taxing in a fund that didn't really have a stable funding mechanism. They never planned for the rainy day. And even though they started seeing this fund start to deplete, they started to pay like their lawyer almost $1 million. They started paying these big companies like Siegel Consulting large sums of money, almost $1 million that they're still today in debt for. But they use this fund for many things other than what it was intended for. So to continue to the next highlighted point, it says, the current funding situation for the PICA program is grim, and the city has informed us that it will stop paying for the program now that the stabilization fund can no longer afford it. Now, remember something too. The HIP HMO is the benchmark. The law states the city will pay the full cost of healthcare for every employee, retiree, and their dependent up to the HIP HMO. So whatever the HIP rate is what the city has to pay for. Well, these knuckleheads suppressed that rate for a savings benchmark in their health savings agreements. That's what they did. They suppressed the benchmark. Why would you do that? It's whoever is advising them. And if it's Alan Klinger, he needs to go. Why would you suppress the one thing that governs what the city has to pay for everybody? So here's the more disturbing part. Medicare Advantage Plan. As you know, the city proposed moving retirees into a Medicare Advantage plan a few years ago in an effort to preserve premium-free health care for retirees, knowing that the stabilization fund was in danger. And this is the shocking part. They lied to everybody by telling that this plan is better. It's enhanced. You hear Richie Davis from TWU say it all the time. It's enhanced. It reminds me of like a Viagra commercial. This is nothing but fluff. You are the benefits that they're saying are an enhancement are perks at a direct expense to your access to doctors, hospitals, and medical care. You have homeowners insurance, you have renters insurance, you have car insurance. You don't get a debit card, you don't get taxi rides, you don't get frozen meals from your plans. Why would you do that to your healthcare? You have to recognize you're not getting something for free for nothing. It's at the expense of something that policy was supposed to provide. The purpose here was their focus is on premium free. Okay, so the plan's free, but it's crapola. So what is the point? Don't tell me the plan's still free when it's a garbage plan, Henry. This is what's so aggravating. You guys should not be negotiating health benefits. Unions should be getting together, forming a coalition and saying to the city, screw you, we're not negotiating down our health benefits. You're going to start paying more money. We've been concession bargaining for years. We're not giving it up, and they're not doing that. And that's so frustrating to keep watching that here he comes back in an email, conciliatory. Oh, we got to give them more. Oh, we can't pay. They're going to start charging us. So he says, A group of retirees, he doesn't even mention our name, sued the city to stop this change. We expect a decision in the pending lawsuit early next year. However, no matter the verdict, the fact remains we cannot escape the realities of the rising costs of healthcare. Absent a viable solution to pay for working and retiree member healthcare, all of our premium-free healthcare benefits will continue to be at risk. And that's because you put them at risk. And a Medicare-eligible retiree costs the city the least. What you were trying to do was finance an active workers plan at the expense of your retired workers. You were financing active employees on the backs of retired unionists, Henry. Say it out loud with me because that's exactly what you were doing. A current retiree's supplemental plan is $200, approximately $200 a month. An active worker is about $1,000 a month. A family plan is $2,700 a month. It's not Medicare eligible retirees that's skyrocketing, sweetheart. It is your healthcare plans that's skyrocketing. You failed to negotiate and do this properly. That's on you, not on us. And we said 2 years ago to the active workers, pay attention to this. This is your future. Many of you chose to listen to Henry, Harry, Michael, Andy Ansbro, Jim McCarthy, Gloria Middleton, Greg Floyd. You weren't listening to what we were saying. We've been in court 4 years. This is your future. And now you're watching it go down the toilet because of deals that they made in the Municipal Labor Committee. So yeah, your premium-free healthcare benefits are at risk. That's because you sold them off. Every time you sat down at the table with the Municipal Labor Committee and came up with a narrow network and another prior authorization and another copay and an increased deductible, you did that. Labor. You don't have to worry about anyone destroying you. You're doing a damn good job all on your own. This is the next thing, as if more insult to injury. Copays starting January 1 of 2025. Now, do you know what they saved, quote unquote, saved by putting a $15 copay on the 20% that the city has to pay for our health insurance? So it's less than $50 million a year. They are taxing the elderly, the disabled, those on small pensions, under $10,000, under $12,000, $15,000, $30,000 pensions. They're putting a copay on the most infirm that need their health care in the twilight of their lives for less than $50 million. Less than $50 million. That is 0.042% of the entire city budget. That's what they did to enrich themselves. For those retirees covered by Senior Care GHI, a recent court decision is restoring a $15 copay for most doctor visits. It's actually just about every doctor visit because I don't see anything in there that exempts it. It's every doctor visit. The copay is a set dollar amount that you pay commonly used healthcare services. Retirees are still responsible for the annual Medicare B deductible and the GHI deductible. You will receive new insurance cards in the mail with that information. And they have been coming. Retirees have been receiving them this week. But I want you to understand something. Medicare eligible retirees pay their Medicare B premium up front, and we don't get reimbursed for a year. Active workers don't have that. You don't pay for your health care. We are already paying, and it takes them 16 to 18 months to get it back. And then you charge a $15 copay, which is what active workers pay on a 100% bill, right? The city pays for 100% of your health insurance. Right now, the city for a Medicare eligible only pays 20% of our health care. But you're charging us the same copay, a $15 copay on a 20% service versus 100% coverage. You're forcing retirees to pay for all of their health care. This is premium transfer. And we've been saying this for 2 years. This is a form of premium transfer. And Henry Garrido, Harry Nispoli, and Michael Mulgrew did this to all of you and all of us. So continuing, he now goes into Intro 1096, the legislation that we had introduced by Council members Marte and Bob Holden. Harmful legislation. New York City Council members Chris Marte introduced a short-sighted bill that attempts to unlawfully restrict the right of public service workers and municipal unions to negotiate retiree health care. The bill, Intro 1096, 2024, violates state and local laws which require health benefits received in retirement to be a mandatory subject of bargaining. Well, Henry, healthcare is a mandatory subject of bargaining for active union members and those in their units. We are not active union members, and we are not in your unions. So it is not a mandatory subject of bargaining. What you can bargain for is an active worker, and you can bargain for an active worker's future health benefits. Like I keep saying, current retirees are like municipal workers in Nebraska. We are not in your unions. You can't negotiate for us. You have nothing to say what we do to protect ourselves. And what this bill does is preserve a floor that's been in place for 60 years. You screwed the pooch, dude. You did this. This is on you. So, to continue, it is the statutory duty of unions and their government employers to negotiate the scope of benefits employees receive when they retire, as recognized by the New York State Court of Appeals and reaffirmed by recent lower court decisions. The rights of retirees to these benefits are defined by collective bargaining agreements originally reached by their unions when those employees were working. Well, Henry, the court did not acknowledge that you could negotiate for a current retiree. Retirees are not in your unions, and we don't vote on your contracts. So therefore, you cannot make a change that affects us. Now, if you wanted to make something that bettered us, you should probably watch the last two videos I did, Labor Law 101, Video 1 and Video 2, in the past 2 days. There is precedence that the courts have acknowledged. Unions cannot negotiate or collectively bargain for retirees. What you're doing is an improper practice and a failure of fiduciary responsibility to current retirees. Promise made, promise kept, on the statutory basis of promissory estoppel. And we won that. If you continue to do this, we will now come after you. And we will also encourage your union members to come after you. You are diminishing a retiree benefit, and you're not even telling them you're doing it. And you're lying about what you are doing to us. And we keep calling you out every time. You said the bill also fails to address the underlying issues of controlling and funding rising healthcare costs. Well, sweetheart, the law states that the city will pay the full cost of health coverage. You're the only one capitulating to that. The city has to pay. You are not making the city follow the law. You are union. Remember that. Grab your union card, walk into OLR, and say, the law says you will do this, and make them do it. You don't steal from your retirees to fund yourselves, and then stick us in an inferior healthcare plan. Removing municipal retirees' ability to negotiate for quality premium-free health benefits is, quite frankly, the opposite of helping retirees. We encourage you to call your city council members. Well, you should be calling your city council members and say, don't listen to dumbass Henry. This is a fraud, and you're defrauding your own selves. So now I want to show you the next document. Henry thinks that a union can negotiate for current retirees. And he says that he keeps saying that the judge said that. The judge never said that a union can negotiate for current retirees. That is, we substantiated yesterday in the Taylor Law when I showed you the law of a definition of what a collective bargaining unit is, what an organization is, what an employer is, and what is the definition of a public employee. And it's not a retired person. So in this decision, well, actually, let's go to that first. In this decision, this is the New York State Supreme Court decision by Justice Lyle Frank that came in March of 2022. What Henry is holding on to, we believe, is this part here. Second, much of the legal arguments made by the petitioners, that would be the retirees, are unavailing. The respondent was well within its rights to work with the Municipal Labor Committee to change how retirees get their health care. And what he's meaning by that is future retirees, not current retirees. And yes, the respondent is the city, is well within its rights to work with the MLC for proper practices of collective bargaining for those currently employed by the municipality. As the municipal labor unions are the entities that enter into collective bargaining agreements, those unions, through the umbrella Municipal Labor Council, may amend those agreements, and you can for yourselves. Moreover, even if the court were to find that labor unions may not bind retirees, meaning current retirees, this would only mean that respondents could act alone without the Municipal Labor Council, which nevertheless would not invalidate the agreement which was reached here. Now, I want to show you something. We always said that the unions had a duty to protect retirees because they knew that they were not in their unions and they could not collectively bargain for them. So at the bottom of this decision, which I've saved in my file, we put a little note down here. And it says, unions can negotiate benefits for future retirees, but they do not represent current retirees, since current retirees are no longer union members. New York appellate courts have repeatedly explained this. See example, Colby v. Tibbetts, 22 New York, 3rd District, 344, 354 from 2013. Once employees retire, they are no longer represented by the union. Period. Hard stop. Agor versus Board of Education, Northeastern Clinton Central School District, 115, AD, 3rd District, 1047, 1049, 3rd Department in 2014. Quote, employees are no longer represented by the union upon retirement. Della Roscoe versus City of Schenectady, 252, AD, 2nd Department, 82, 84, 3rd Department, 1998. Once employees retire, they are no longer represented by the union. Collective bargaining agreements themselves make this clear, as they explicitly state in, I think, Article 1 or Article 2, that they only cover employees. Campion did not and could not change. That's well-settled legal principle. So Henry's interpretation in this, I would say go back and go back to your day job and stop sleeping in a Holiday Inn, because you are definitely not an attorney, my friend. My second point in this is that in Campion, Justice Frank merely noted that the union's non-representation of retirees was not a reason for ruling in the retirees' favor in that case. It had nothing to do with his decision. And that's why he didn't answer the question. But there's plenty of collective bargaining agreements that have, and I'm going to start showing each and every one of you, whenever your unions went to this New York City Office of Collective Bargaining, that you were told many times that your union does not represent current retired workers, current retirees. You only represent current workers, not current retirees. Now, the last thing that Henry likes to hang his hat on is the citywide agreement. So I'm going to go to page 30 of this contract. And I'm sliding so you can see this is the real contract to 2021. And when we did this, we did a control word find, a control F word find. The word retiree only appears in this document 4 times. That's it. 4. And so really what's important in this section is it says Labor Management Health Policy Committee with representation from the MLC and from the employer for the purpose of consultations on policy only shall be continued. Retirees shall continue to have the option of changing their previous choice of healthcare plans. This option shall be, and it tells you when you can change your healthcare plan. So there is nothing in this document that actually says that the unions can negotiate for current retirees. None whatsoever. And if you go back to your original contracts, usually up at the top, am I getting closer? Yes, I am. Okay. It'll tell you that there is recognition for who this contract is for. That the employers recognize the union is the sole exclusive collective bargaining representative on citywide matters, which must be uniform for the following employees. Employees, this is the key word. And this is what Henry keeps ignoring. Retirees are not employees. He cannot negotiate for us. Hard stop. There's no more go. This is the end. Henry needs to stop interfering with legislation that doesn't impact him or his members. What 1096 does is it preserves a floor that's been in place for 60 years. It says, you're welcome to build above this, but this has been the floor that we've accepted for 60 years. Leave it alone. Don't diminish it. Don't change it. Leave it. And any unionist should be proud to say, wow, look at those retirees. They're protecting our floor. And if we want to build on it, we could build on it. What we're stopping you from doing, Henry, is liquidating our benefits to finance active workers. And that you're letting that happen. Sorry, folks, I have to keep doing this. But what Henry just did here was crossing the line. So anyone that's listening to this message, we are doing a rally against DC37, rebuking this document, this email, and his position on liquidating retiree healthcare on Monday, December 16th. Meet us at City Hall, please, at 2 p.m. We start our march. City Hall by Broadway and Park Place. Bring a friend. Come on out. Remember something. They do not represent retirees. City Council is still listening to the big lie, and it's up to us to keep convincing them that the bill is not illegal, it doesn't violate collective bargaining, and it's funded because city statute for 60 years allows it to be. End. The end. See you Monday. Actually, I'll see you tonight at 6:30 for video 3 of Labor Law 101, because you can never, ever have enough education. Peace out, guys.